When installing underground conduit, several factors must be considered to ensure compliance with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and to provide for long-term safety and maintenance. One key aspect is the burial depth of the conduit. According to the NEC, underground conduits for electrical conductors must be buried at a certain depth to protect them from physical damage. The specific depth requirement depends on various factors, including the type of conduit, the voltage of the conductors, and the presence of vehicular traffic. In many cases, a minimum burial depth of 18 inches is required, but in areas where vehicles or equipment may pass over the conduit, a greater depth, such as 24 inches, is necessary. In the scenario described, a 2-inch PVC Schedule 40 conduit is installed for a 480 volts 3-phase power supply to a wastewater pump station, with the conduit buried 24 inches below grade. Provided that the PVC Schedule 40 conduit is rated for direct burial and is installed at a minimum depth of 24 inches, the installation aligns with NEC guidelines. However, simply meeting the minimum requirements may not be sufficient to prevent accidental damage to the conduit in the future. To address the concern of potential damage from future digging activities, several methods can be employed to permanently mark the path of the underground conduit. These methods provide a visual or electronic indication of the conduit's location, reducing the risk of accidental strikes during excavation. Firstly, trench marking tape is a brightly colored plastic tape that can be buried directly above the conduit. This tape serves as a warning to excavators, alerting them to the presence of an underground utility. The tape is typically made of a durable, non-degradable material that can withstand the harsh underground environment. When excavating in the area, the brightly colored tape is easily visible, providing a clear indication of the conduit's location. Secondly, an underground locator wire, also known as tracer wire, is a thin, insulated wire that is buried alongside the conduit. This wire can be detected using a locator tool, which emits an electromagnetic signal that can be traced along the wire's path. The locator tool allows for precise determination of the conduit's location, even if the surface above is covered with pavement or vegetation. The locator wire provides a reliable means of tracing the conduit's path for maintenance or repair purposes. Thirdly, permanent markers, such as concrete or plastic posts, can be installed at intervals along the conduit's path. These markers provide a physical indication of the conduit's location, serving as a visual reminder to excavators. The markers should be clearly labeled with the type of utility and the depth of burial. They should also be durable enough to withstand environmental conditions and potential impacts. Permanent markers are particularly useful in areas where excavation is likely to occur, such as construction sites or landscaping projects. Fourthly, GPS coordinates can be used to record the precise location of the conduit. This information can be stored in a database or map, allowing it to be easily retrieved in the future. GPS coordinates provide a highly accurate record of the conduit's path, which can be used to guide excavation activities or to locate the conduit for maintenance or repair. This method is particularly useful in areas where physical markers may be difficult to install or maintain. When selecting a marking method, it is important to consider the specific site conditions and the level of protection required. In areas with heavy excavation activity, a combination of methods may be necessary to provide adequate protection. For example, trench marking tape can be used in conjunction with an underground locator wire to provide both visual and electronic indication of the conduit's location. Similarly, permanent markers can be used in conjunction with GPS coordinates to provide both physical and digital records of the conduit's path. In addition to these marking methods, it is also important to maintain accurate records of the conduit's location and depth. This information should be readily available to anyone who may be excavating in the area. It is also important to communicate the location of the conduit to local utility companies and emergency responders. By taking these steps, you can help to prevent accidental damage to the conduit and ensure the safety of workers and the public. Furthermore, specific sections of the NEC address the installation of underground conduits and provide guidelines for ensuring the safety and reliability of electrical systems. Some relevant sections include Article 300.5, which covers underground installations, and Article 310.15, which addresses conductor ampacity. These sections provide detailed requirements for burial depth, conduit type, and conductor sizing. Consulting these sections of the NEC is crucial for ensuring compliance and preventing potential hazards. In addition to the NEC requirements, local codes and regulations may also apply to underground conduit installations. It is important to check with local authorities to determine any specific requirements that may be in place. These local codes may address issues such as permit requirements, inspection procedures, and specific installation practices. By complying with both the NEC and local codes, you can ensure that your underground conduit installation is safe, reliable, and in accordance with all applicable regulations. Proper planning, installation, and marking of underground conduits are essential for preventing accidental damage and ensuring the long-term integrity of electrical systems. By following the guidelines outlined in the NEC and implementing appropriate marking methods, you can minimize the risk of damage and maintain a safe environment for workers and the public. The selection of a marking method for underground conduits is dependent on several factors, including site conditions, budget, and the level of protection required. Each method offers unique advantages and disadvantages, and the best approach often involves a combination of techniques. Firstly, trench marking tape is a cost-effective and widely used method for marking underground utilities. It is typically made of brightly colored plastic, such as orange or yellow, and is buried directly above the conduit. The tape serves as a visual warning to excavators, alerting them to the presence of an underground utility. Trench marking tape is relatively easy to install and is available in various widths and thicknesses. However, it is important to choose a high-quality tape that is resistant to tearing and degradation. The tape should also be buried at a shallow depth, typically around 12 inches, to ensure that it is easily visible during excavation. One limitation of trench marking tape is that it can be displaced or damaged by excavation equipment. If the tape is torn or removed, it may no longer provide adequate warning to excavators. For this reason, it is often used in conjunction with other marking methods. Secondly, underground locator wire, also known as tracer wire, provides a more precise method for locating underground conduits. The wire is typically made of copper or steel and is buried alongside the conduit. A locator tool is then used to send an electromagnetic signal through the wire, which can be detected from the surface. The locator tool allows for accurate determination of the conduit's location, even if it is buried deep underground. Underground locator wire is particularly useful in areas where the conduit's path is uncertain or where excavation is likely to occur. It is also a good option for marking conduits that are buried beneath pavement or other obstructions. However, underground locator wire can be more expensive than trench marking tape, and it requires specialized equipment to install and maintain. Thirdly, permanent markers such as concrete or plastic posts provide a physical indication of the conduit's location. These markers are typically installed at intervals along the conduit's path and are clearly labeled with the type of utility and the depth of burial. Permanent markers are highly visible and provide a constant reminder of the conduit's presence. They are also resistant to damage from excavation equipment. However, permanent markers can be expensive to install, and they may not be suitable for all locations. They are most effective in areas where the conduit's path is relatively straight and where there is sufficient space to install the markers. Fourthly, GPS coordinates offer a precise and reliable method for recording the location of underground conduits. GPS data can be collected using a handheld GPS device or a surveying instrument. The coordinates are then stored in a database or map, which can be accessed by excavators or utility workers. GPS coordinates provide a highly accurate record of the conduit's location, which can be used to guide excavation activities or to locate the conduit for maintenance or repair. This method is particularly useful in areas where physical markers are difficult to install or maintain. However, GPS coordinates require specialized equipment and software to collect and process the data. They also rely on the availability of GPS signals, which may be limited in some areas. In addition to these marking methods, It is also important to maintain accurate records of the conduit's location and depth. This information should be readily available to anyone who may be excavating in the area. Utility companies typically maintain detailed maps of their underground infrastructure, which can be used to locate buried conduits. It is also important to communicate the location of the conduit to local utility companies and emergency responders. This can be done by contacting the local one-call center before any excavation work is performed. The one-call center will notify all relevant utility companies, who will then mark the location of their underground facilities. By taking these steps, you can help to prevent accidental damage to the conduit and ensure the safety of workers and the public. The importance of proper marking and documentation of underground conduits cannot be overstated. Accidental damage to underground utilities can result in serious injuries, property damage, and service disruptions. By investing in effective marking methods and maintaining accurate records, you can significantly reduce the risk of these incidents. It is also important to educate workers and the public about the importance of calling before digging. Calling the local one-call center before any excavation work is performed is the best way to ensure that underground utilities are properly located and marked. In addition to the specific marking methods discussed above, there are also some general best practices that should be followed when installing underground conduits. These include, firstly, carefully planning the route of the conduit to avoid potential hazards such as trees, rocks, and other underground utilities. Secondly, using appropriate materials and installation techniques to ensure the long-term durability of the conduit. Thirdly, thoroughly inspecting the conduit after installation to ensure that it is properly buried and protected. Fourthly, maintaining accurate records of the conduit's location and depth. Fifthly, communicating the location of the conduit to local utility companies and emergency responders. By following these best practices, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of underground electrical systems.